What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. Today we're talking the September 7, 2024 edition of the SmackDown LowDown with Scott Stanford, Sam Roberts in the studio. No Megan Morant this week. They did mention a couple of weeks ago when she wasn't on the show that she was like taking the week off or whatever. I mean, she was on Raw Talk this past week, obviously, with Sam Roberts. They didn't mention or acknowledge her absence on the show this week, but I imagine she will be back next week. I'm not sure. I'll talk about what's going on with SmackDown LowDown starting next week at the end of this review. But anyway, so they open up the episode hyping up Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa inside of a steel cage for the undisputed WWE Championship next week on the USA Network premiere of SmackDown. They replay the triple threat match from Friday night with Kevin Owens knocking off Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. They preview Owens and a mystery partner versus A-Town Down Under for next week. I can only imagine it's Randy Orton. I would be surprised, honestly, if it was anyone else but Randy, who we have not seen on SmackDown since before SummerSlam due to the fact that he transitioned over to Raw for the brief feud with Gunther over the World Heavyweight Championship. So I imagine he'll be back on SmackDown next week, teaming with Owens against Waller and Theory for like the fucking upteenth time. Who could possibly care? They replay Chelsea Green knocking off Michin. Sam Roberts says that it's 2 strikes for Michin and also to keep an eye on the impressive Chelsea Green. They replay Giovanni Vinci losing his re-debut against Apollo Crews in a matter of seconds. And Sam Roberts says that Vinci may have been going for fashion over function. They replay Bayley beating Stratton one-on-one. Bayley, we hear from her afterward backstage with Byron Saxton. Bayley says that it really wasn't much of a return, people making a big deal out of it. She was only gone for like 3 or 4 weeks. She was also working the European tour in the meantime, so she really wasn't off. But she does say that the 3 weeks off did help her heal. Again, she wasn't really off for 3 weeks, but I guess 3 weeks off from SmackDown, she means, did help her heal, and her body feels great, she says. She said it was also cool to be back on the final SmackDown on Fox before they close out the Fox era and head to USA Network, as she was on the first SmackDown on Fox 5 years ago from October. She calls it a fresh new canvas on SmackDown now that she's back. And when Byron asks her about, her championship aspirations, do you have your sights set on getting back the WWE Women's Championship, she just says you're going to have to wait until next week. So Sam Roberts says that Bayley will always be close to championship contention. It's Bayley. She's forever a challenger. But she'll probably reveal next week that she wants a rematch at Bad Blood. I would have to take a guess. That's where it's going to happen. They also tease Tiffany being calculating. And as far as, her being patient as Miss Money in the Bank or simply just calculating her next move as far as when she'll actually cash in that contract. They replayed the main event with the Bloodline knocking off DIY in the Street Profits in an 8-man tag team match. Sam Roberts says the Bloodline continue to hold gold hostage, whether it was Roman Reigns as the undisputed WWE Universal Champion or now the Bloodline, Tama Tonga Loa as WWE Tag Team Champions. We hear from Solo Sikoa and the rest of the Bloodline backstage. Jacob Fatu was the only one who did not speak. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa teased that Cody Rhodes may not even make it until next week, which, as Sam Roberts alluded to afterward, why would they say that? Because if Cody Rhodes doesn't make it to the match, Solo Sikoa can't beat him for the WWE Championship, which was a smart thing to say. But Solo simply says that if, Cody Rhodes next week, when he beats him, he will have no choice but to acknowledge Solo Sikoa. Sam Roberts and Scott Stanford question if the cage will indeed keep out the Bloodline, which is a very valid question because it hasn't in the past and it will not probably in this matchup, in any steel cage match, almost ever in WWE, has the cage ever really truly eliminated interference. I can't imagine that's too much of the case. That'll be the case next week, but we'll see. They also mention, or rather, they throw it to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes also did an interview with Byron Saxton, so Cody Rhodes, he's probably been on SmackDown LowDown before, but if he has, not in a long time, so he was a great get for the show. Cody Rhodes says that he has a soft spot for Solo Sikoa, and he knows that when he's fighting Solo or any member of the Bloodline, he's fighting really all of them simultaneously. And of course, he admits he has some fear and trepidation coming into this match inside of a cage with Solo, but he says that Solo has never been in a cage match before, whereas he's been in many over the course of his career, and if Solo wins, he will indeed acknowledge him, which he won't, but he does say that here. Sam Roberts puts over Solo as a threat as they hype up the cage match next week for the undisputed WWE Championship. They also run down the matches for next week, the aforementioned cage match, Owens in a mystery partner versus A-Town Down Under, as well as the Carmelo and Andrade 5th match in their series, Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade, which I'm looking forward to. And then they mentioned at the very end of the episode, which I was not expecting and did not hear about before I watched this today, that SmackDown LowDown is actually moving to Friday nights, live on Peacock after SmackDown. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done that before. Maybe they were doing that originally years ago. I don't remember. It's been so long. But yeah, they're going to be doing the show after SmackDown starting next week, which is what they already do with Raw Talk. So it is weird that, and Raw ends later. So you would think they would do Raw Talk the next day and SmackDown LowDown after SmackDown, but it's actually been the other way around for the last number of years. But they're going to be doing SmackDown LowDown live after SmackDown starting next week. I don't know what that means for NXT Level Up, for anyone who gives a shit about watching that show live or really at all. But that show has traditionally aired on Peacock after SmackDown in that slot on Peacock. So maybe they, air SmackDown LowDown and then they air NXT Level Up right after it's over. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work, but they did announce that for next week. Thank you guys for checking out my review of the show. Solid stuff here. I thought this was a very good episode of SmackDown LowDown because not only did it recap a kind of less than stellar edition of SmackDown, it helped build towards the USA Network premiere next week, run down those matches, hype up the big championship match for next week inside of a steel cage. We also got to hear from a star-studded lineup of guests, from Bayley to Cody Rhodes, the champion, Solo Sikoa. So a pretty good edition here, I thought, of SmackDown LowDown with Scott Stanford and Sam Roberts. As I mentioned before, thank you guys for checking out my review of the show. I greatly appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, folks. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.